Hi, I'm Louise from A2A Training, and I'll give you a brief overview of the Insurance Professional Level 4 Endpoint Assessment for Standard Reference ST0241. There's two elements to the EPA, the portfolio of evidence and the reflective discussion. So the apprentice, whilst on programme, will gather evidence of their best work completed within the last 3 months on programme. The portfolio should demonstrate all 50 learning outcomes as listed in the assessment plan. The portfolio is a showcase of the best work and must complete a minimum of 3 different types of evidence. To progress to the reflective discussion, a minimum of 70% of the 50 learning outcomes, so 35 or more, must be met at pass or above within the portfolio. We provide a mapping document to support in collating the portfolio, which must be submitted along with the portfolio. The portfolio must be based around the 50 learning outcomes for the standard. We've provided the mapping document for you and listed the criteria 1 to 50. There is no set requirement for the number of pieces of evidence, and evidence can be mapped holistically, so the same evidence can cover more than one key skills and behaviours area or criteria. The focus here is on quality of evidence rather than quantity, and should include a good range of evidence. So here's some ideas for your portfolio of evidence. You can include things such as workplace observations, reflective accounts or case studies, internal compliance audits, professional discussions with the training provider, work-based product evidence, recordings or videos which should be time-stamped, and all evidence must be authentic as in the learner's own and current. Please ensure you reference any teamwork or collaborative work, and the use of AI must also be clearly referenced. Following submission of your portfolio, the independent endpoint assessor will mark this and give detailed feedback prior to the reflective discussion. This will clearly show how many learning outcomes have been met at pass and distinction from the portfolio. Any learning outcomes which have not been met must then be met in the professional discussion. And as the apprentice, you can bring your portfolio to the discussion along with 2 pages of A4 notes. So the reflective discussion underpinned by the portfolio of evidence will usually last around 60 minutes. And it will take the form of a structured interview with the independent endpoint assessor to explore the content of the portfolio and the learner journey in more detail. The discussion will be recorded for quality and training purposes, and it's a good idea to practice your reflective discussion, and we have some mock questions available for you to support you. So the requirements for the application of the assessment methods are as follows. Firstly, both assessment methods must be used, and between them they must cover 100% of the learning outcomes. A minimum of 70% of the learning outcomes must be assessed from the portfolio, and this must include a minimum of 1 learning outcome per competency. In terms of grading, the endpoint assessment is graded as distinction, pass or fail. The apprentice will have to achieve a minimum of 20 distinction marks from a total of the 38 learning outcomes from the skills and behaviour competencies, with at least 1 distinction mark from each of the 10 competencies. The knowledge competencies are marked as pass only with no distinction criteria. The individual assessment methods are not graded. The 2 assessment methods are combined to give 1 overall grade. To achieve a pass, all 50 pass criteria must be met. To achieve a distinction, the apprentice must reach at least 20 learning outcomes from the distinction and at least 1 from each of the competency areas. When looking to mark as a distinction, the apprentice will have shown the independent endpoint assessor evidence such as exceeding expectations, making innovative recommendations, and being solutions driven and proactive. So to summarise, there are 50 criteria to be met across the standard, and at least 70% of these must be met in the portfolio. When the IEPA receives your portfolio, they will mark it and give detailed feedback relating to which the criteria have been met or not met. And the discussion can cover any areas of work or the portfolio, but of course we'll focus on areas not met as a priority. So you'll need to be in a room on your own to complete your endpoint assessment, and it will most likely be completed online using platforms such as Teams or Zoom. The EPA is completed under examination conditions, but can be completed from work, home, or at your college or training provider. Please log in about 15 minutes to check your connection, and always check the requirements of the assessment plan. Allow around about 1.5 hours for the online element of the endpoint assessment, and please remember to bring your photographic ID on the day. Good luck with your endpoint assessment, and here's our email address should you need us.